Yeah, I've always liked Litecoin. I think Litecoin is the most legit and honest altcoin out there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into CrushTheStreet.com. I'm very honored today because we have on the line our very own digital currency analyst, and all of his work we post at CrushTheStreet.com. His name is Luke Dodwell, and man, he some of the best analysis and news up to date has been written by Luke, and we're going to get a feel for the current environment with the man himself today. Luke, thanks for coming on the line with me.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be here.
Luke, you know what? I want to start here. We've been talking about it a lot at Crush the Street, but that is the block size debate. And I want to get your initial thoughts on that. There's a lot of controversy out there, both sides of the debate, going to Bitcoin Unlimited or SegWit, or just nothing happening at all. So many opinions out there on this topic. I want to get your initial reactions.
Yeah, well, my initial reaction, what I think of this whole sort of hard fork debate, I think there's a lot of fear going around the markets. The whole name of hard fork, it's just a name, really. If it was called something like software upgrade, protocol upgrade, I doubt there would be as much fear as there is. I think what we have to be careful of, the entire community in general, not just in Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency in general, is we can't let it get too political. Everyone has a right to have their say. It's a decentralized market. It's a totally decentralized ecosystem. So people being able to have their say is what it's all about, and that's how it should be. Because there's no central authority involved deciding it, or at least that's how it should be. It is going to get a little bit messy and a little bit bloody, especially when there's a lot of hype and a lot of fear involved. I think Bitcoin does need to scale ultimately, because it is, overloaded at the moment of transactions. But these things come in time. Remember when the internet back in the 90s used to make that really horrible dial-up sound?
Sure.
And now, and now we don't get that. That's gone. We can hook up to the internet just like that, really quickly. And that's in the space of 10, 15 years. I'm in my late 20s now. I remember that horrible noise, that screeching noise, was when I was probably 10, 11, 12, probably a bit younger. So I think, in a way, Bitcoin scaling has to happen. I think we're kind of expecting a lot from Bitcoin so early, because Bitcoin is still very, very, very young. It's not even 10 years old yet. But it will happen, and I think it's good to hash it out and debate it fairly and honestly. I think there's probably there's people who want it to go a certain way because of their own emotional and political opinions on Bitcoin, but I think we should let the people decide which direction it goes, and that seems to be, at the moment, people want to try out SegWit, segregated witness, and if that's what the people want, if that's what the community wants, and that's at the moment the safest option, then why not try it out? Even if it doesn't work, fine, we'll move on to something else. But as long as we exhaust all our options, and then maybe if all other options are exhausted, then we can do a dreaded hard fork and stuff. But at least then we know that every other option on the table has been tried out and at least tested.
Sure.
I think that's the best way to go about it. Yeah, as long as it's done honestly and for the right reasons, for the whole ecosystem in general, then then it will work. Bitcoin's anti-fragile. It just seems to get stronger and stronger.
Luke,
that's my thoughts on it.
Luke, when it comes to Bitcoin, we've called it digital gold, and I think, especially for people who got into it because it's sound money, I think they're scratching their heads wondering if this is going to take down Bitcoin's viability, these problems that we're seeing. Imagine if gold all of a sudden ran into this roadblock of oh, you know what, it's potentially not going to be a good store of value for the future. And considering Bitcoin is so new, this is kind of reaffirming some of those fears that a lot of the pundits have, that, hey, digital currencies don't really have value. Now, I don't believe that statement, but certainly if we do deal with something that just causes mass confusion and problems, if people say, I don't want it anymore, certainly it doesn't have any more value. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That's a very good point. There's always going to be skeptics of this technology, and that's just part of the whole sort of ball game. I mean, I think if Bitcoin did hard fork, and it was a very messy hard fork, like it wasn't like if there was a lot of the media which just kind of went into a frenzy, and there was like a lot of fake news, and it wasn't managed properly, then yeah, like new investors who may not be as tech savvy, or sort of old school investors who are already skeptical of Bitcoin, if there's two versions of Bitcoin competing at it, it will confuse people. Although if Bitcoin did hard fork, I mean, it would still survive. It will still eventually settle down, but yeah, it would be really messy, and it would definitely give the naysayers something to gloat about. I think it would more so cause a lot of confusion with potential investors, because they're going to say, well, which one should I go for? He's saying Bitcoin Unlimited. He's saying the original Bitcoin. Which one is it? Bitcoin Classic. So it could cause a little bit of confusion. You get a lot of people say, what happens if Bitcoin, if the internet vanishes? If the internet shuts down, what's going to happen to Bitcoin then? That's like a very popular question when people are getting into Bitcoin. My answer to that is simple. I mean, if the internet crashes, if Bitcoin stopped working because of that, like an EM pulse or something like that, theoretically, a lot more essential, important, and crucial things are going to go down if that happens. And I think Bitcoin would actually be one of the things, at least online networks, that would probably survive from that. I think people underestimate Bitcoin's durability a bit. I don't think like it would die overnight if it had a hard fork, but it would definitely do a lot of damage because it's the flagship blockchain. And if trust goes in Bitcoin, then it's going to affect the rest of the ecosystem, at least in terms of becoming like a digitalized money.
Sure.
So that's my thoughts on that. But I mean, there's a lot of haters out there. That's just natural. But yeah, the hard fork would just only add confusion and just it would add fuel to the fire. But so
Luke,
yeah, I think it would still survive. Yeah.
Yes. When I first, when you first started writing for Crush,
yeah,
you talked about Litecoin, and this was before we saw that big move. And you said, "Hey, Litecoin is legit. Don't forget about Litecoin." And it was sitting there. I mean, Bitcoin was running, and Litecoin was just hanging out under $4. And with this whole block size debate, and it looks like Litecoin might and is likely to implement SegWit. We've seen it move quite a bit. I just recently interviewed Charlie Lee right before we saw that big move, and it really seems like Litecoin could be the gateway for Bitcoin, kind of like a test. A lot of people are talking about it as a test net for Bitcoin, and that's really interesting. And I wonder the confidence that the Bitcoin community will have if we see a successful implementation of SegWit in Litecoin. Yeah,
definitely. I've always liked Litecoin. I think Litecoin is the most legit and honest altcoin out there. It's the most humble. I like Litecoin because it always has a high volume. It's always had a high steady amount of volume. It's just so popular in China, and the price hasn't really fluctuated. It's always been around like $3 or $4. There's never been anything too high. It has had its moments in the past, but I think definitely the faith in SegWit will skyrocket if Litecoin implements it and activates it successfully and smoothly. I think that's the whole point. I mean, Litecoin. I don't see Litecoin as like a competitor to Bitcoin. I see it like as its little brother, like like digital silver, like how silver is. You can buy, like with a 1 ounce silver coin, you can buy some food, some sort of little things like food, fuel. But with a 1 ounce gold coin, it's not so easy to do that. You have to, it's not as fluid to buy things. And I think that's the same relationship with Bitcoin and Litecoin. Litecoin doesn't even have the same problems of Bitcoin at the moment because it's not as congested and it's much, much faster anyway. So this is like a bonus for Litecoin. And I think that's why Litecoin's price has surged up. And I think everybody in the community secretly wants Litecoin to do really well. And as we've seen, I think Litecoin is still above 75% on SegWit. So it's like we're in that 2-week phase where we just need to be above 75% to lock in segregated witness and then roll on all the other features. So I think Litecoin could really set the pace for Bitcoin, and it's doing something that Bitcoin just can't do at the moment. And that in itself shows that Litecoin is very versatile and flexible, just like how silver should be, right? So I think, yes, definitely we will see a huge increase in confidence in SegWit on Bitcoin once Litecoin shows us the way and it actually all runs smoothly on Litecoin.
So it just...
I like Litecoin. I like it.
Yeah, no, and a lot of credibility on that as well. I mean, just reminding people the importance of Litecoin, where it was, and now, I mean, 3-4 times as high. It's trading around $12, $11.
It's one of the older altcoins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's got more resilience. Having said that, I mean, we've seen Litecoin spike to $30, over $30 a few years ago.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, long-term projections? I want to get your projections on Litecoin and Bitcoin as well.
Price projections.
Price projections.
It rolls out with SegWit. I think Litecoin. I'll start with Bitcoin. No, I'll start with Litecoin first. I mean, if Litecoin, if it all goes well and it runs smoothly, and Lightning Network jumps into play, I think we could see it reach, and it gets used, in the mainstream world. We might get, for example, could get a Litecoin ETF, maybe. I mean, who knows? But it could reach $100 if it's used enough, I reckon. Bitcoin, I think the sky is the limit with that, because it's got the hashing power behind it. It's already got the usability. It's so much more mature. Bitcoin could go. I mean, I remember looking at a chart, and I did a video about it as well, saying about Bitcoin could reach $40,000 in a couple of years. I think by the next Bitcoin halving in 2020, like the mining rewards halving, I think we could see definitely a huge increase, like a huge spike, like just phenomenal gains. As long as it scales and carries on the way it is, and the hashing power increases how it is, Bitcoin could reach some really amazing prices. Definitely in 20 to 30 years, we'll see a whole new band of wealth just come from this. I reckon a lot of people are going to make a lot more fortunes.
So still early in the game for anyone that's concerned about where the price is at right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, because think about it, cryptocurrencies aren't really used mainstream, like nowhere near in comparison to like my local currency, the pound, your dollar. It's nowhere near like that yet, and it's still early days, and we're already seeing these prices and all these achievements. So when it does become officially mainstream, then it will just like explode. I mean, I think it's still early days. Sort of like when I don't know, like when Windows 95 rolled out. I remember Windows 95 a long time ago, and I think we're at that sort of stage just before the early 90s with this now. And because there's a lot of capital coming into blockchain now, we've got banks are looking at it, companies are looking at it to try and innovate with it. So yeah, I mean, it's the people are starting to notice it, but it's still very early days. We're seeing the smart money coming in now. So yeah, it's going to be amazing as long as it all works out. Nothing's ever set in stone, of course. I have to say that as well.
Yeah, no guarantees, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Luke, groups now, or countries, I should say, like Russia and Japan are potentially embracing Bitcoin as legal payment system. And so I want to get your thoughts on what it means by legal, because are people not allowed to trade in Bitcoin? So then it's going from being illegal to legal, and what does that mean?
I think where governments are making it difficult is because a lot of capital is going into Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin being borderless, you can literally ship out that money. You can send it from one person to another across the planet. There's no borders with Bitcoin. It's totally borderless, and a lot of countries don't like that. They don't want to see capital leave their country, and they can't even regulate it or get fees on it or tax it or investigate it or put it on a record or put it on like a database. A lot of governments aren't happy with that. That's why we're hearing so much about Bitcoin and money laundering and all these sort of cases. But eventually, like Japan has always been like really pro technology. Like everyone knows that, and they're pro Bitcoin. What Japan's doing is an innovative step. It's a step forward. I mean, it's rather than trying to go against it, flow with it. As for Russia, yeah, I mean, maybe the Russian government is starting to see that there's a lot of potential here, and Russia shouldn't really depend on, because obviously Russia is known as an oil nation, very oil powerhouse. Maybe now, as technology advances in like 100 years, we may not be using oil as much. What will Russia be able to do then? And Russia's got a lot of smart people. There's a lot of smart people over in Russia. There's a lot of depth. There's a big depth of talent there. So maybe they're starting to think, wow, if Japan's doing that with blockchain, if Europe's becoming more pro-blockchain, if America's doing this with blockchain, and China's doing this with Bitcoin and stuff, maybe Russia probably thinking, well, let's get in on it. So I think they're starting to slowly warm to it. And I think the Russians will be really, they'll take to it really well. Russians are really, some good computer scientists over there as well. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a good step forward for blockchain in general.
So what do you see it going to? Because right now, technically, people should be, according to the government, if you buy your Bitcoin for $500 US dollars, and then you sell it for $1,000 US dollars, there's a $500 capital gains tax, and that's a problem. I mean, and I read an article just a week ago or so. It said only 800 people reported digital currencies on their taxes, when there's millions of wallets out there, and just so many people using it, right? And that's a problem for the government. They don't like that. But if they legalize it, is it some form of acceptance as money, and they're not gonna treat it with tax implications?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that they're trying to tax it shows that they do see it as a form of value, at least a form of money, a form of value. If they deemed it totally illegal, like if they branded it as just a scam, I mean, they would shut down every single exchange in their respective countries, the governments, I mean. So I think the governments do see, they do recognize it as a form of value. I mean, in England, if you buy silver, you pay capital gains and all sorts of taxes, VAT, capital gains tax, anyway, but not on gold. So yeah, the government are going to want their share of this. Of course they are, especially when people are making this amount of money. I mean, there's people who've made fortunes from this, and it's totally tax-free. I think though how they're gonna do it, because I read about the Coinbase sort of debate going on, and I heard on read on forums that they were going to the IRS were going to class it as taking profit if you move Bitcoin from one Bitcoin address to another. Like that's like basically like if you move your £10 to another bank account. That doesn't make sense. I think where the governments are going to step in is when you try to bring Bitcoin and exchange it into the local fiat, or use it to buy something in local fiat. I think that's when the government will step in, because they can't take it head on. They can't try and alter the code. They can't mess around with people who've got cold storage wallets. So the government will probably try and regulate things like the exchanges, and that's what they're going to go after. That's like what we're seeing with Coinbase, like with money laundering laws. I think they may even start, and this is just my personal opinion, I think they may even start trying to have a go at the Bitcoin wallets, software wallets, saying to them, look, make them provide some kind of ID. Not all of them, it's just hypothetical, but we could start seeing things like that. And I think there's going to be a lot of regulations coming in the next few years, because $1,000 Bitcoin attracts the government's attention. It attracts a lot of scammers. It brings a lot of attention. So I definitely see a huge amount of regulations coming. But in a way, it's kind of like a bittersweet thing, because I think it shows that they do accept it as money, as a store of value, as something legitimate. It's just they just want their cut on it. But it's decentralized, so it may not be as easy as that. I actually found it quite funny when only 800 people declared their earnings. But hey, that's how it is. I mean, people want to protect their wealth, don't they? And that's how it is nowadays. The banks don't give us anything, in our savings account. So that's why people are flocking to these very savvy ways of saving their wealth for their grandchildren, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like if the government goes into it, the more people are going to repel against it, and there's going to be organizations and options that arise from countries that don't have laws and don't have, it's the Wild West, and exchanges in areas that can't be controlled, wallets that can't be monitored. It's really an interesting dynamic, and I'd be very curious to see what it's like on the inside for these people, these regulators, the IRS, and these different government organizations that are saying, hey, what are we going to do with Bitcoin? We've had everyone in the system for so long, and now we're losing control. And I almost wonder if they can be involved in some sort of way to create confusion and chaos, just to buy themselves a little more time to say, hey, keep using our system.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's how they would do things. They're psychological experts, the government. Don't underestimate. They're very, very clever. They know they know how to do everything nearly. But yeah, I think, like you said, it's like the Wild West. Some of these exchanges, these pump and dumps are insane. Millions are being made. Money is being just thrown around like left, right, and center. I've been on the exchanges when it's just been crazy, where the site will crash because of the amount of traffic on there, the amount of transactions going through it. It will just crash. So yeah, of course the government's noticing this and seeing people make small fortunes overnight. Kids who are like 13, 14, trading on Poloniex, trading on all these backstreet alley exchanges that are based God knows where. Yeah, the government's definitely watching all this, and the government's gonna. I can pretty much, it's common sense really. They're gonna come in with regulation. I'm not really worried though. I'm a law-abiding citizen, but I'm not worried. But yeah, if you just keep your money safe, and you just don't store your money on these exchanges or on these platforms that can be targeted by regulations, then you've got nothing to worry about, because it's only really, the government can only really affect Bitcoin if it's like when it's in the exchange phase where it mixes with US dollar or pound or something. That's the only real places they can do it. So if you just store it and hold it for the long term in cold storage, then yeah, they can't really do anything to it. Not really. But yeah, it's just the regulations are going to come. Definitely.
Luke, I'll be honest with my own position here. I own Bitcoin, so I don't want to see anything happen to it that is going to hurt the infrastructure. And I'm curious with what you see going on and what the problems, like we talked about in the earlier portion of the interview, the block size debate. Yeah. How resilient do you believe Bitcoin will be through this? And is this just something that we'll talk about as, hey, it was a problem, it came and went, and Bitcoin passed it, and that was it? Or hey, is the more and more people that want to use Bitcoin, and we can't come to a solution here, we're dealing with this 1 megabyte block size here that is just not doing the job. Fees are going through the roof. Is this going to be a problem, for the Bitcoin, for my investment? I'll put it that way. Is that going to be a problem?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's a question everyone's asking, whether they're pros or they're just newbies. In terms of, I'll talk about Bitcoin security. I think, remember the fear about the Millennium Bug back in like 1999,
Sure.
2000? And it was, yeah. Again, I was in school then.
Yeah.
I remember everyone talking about it, saying the world's going to end, planes are going to crash out the sky. And as soon as the year 2000 came in, nothing happened. It was all just a lot of hype, a lot of fun. I think Bitcoin's security, I think it's strong. I mean, I'm not like a computer science whiz kid. I'm not as skilled as someone with more technical know-how would be able to explain it. Open the hood up and explain every single piece a bit more precisely than I could. But from what I know and from what I've kind of studied, it would be really hard to really do anything to Bitcoin. I mean, if we look at Bitcoin's like hashing power, its overall power, I mean, no one, as far as we know, can rival that. It's like 3,500 petahashes. And to put that into perspective, 1 petahash is 1,000 terahashes. And Ethereum, Dash, and all the other altcoins are only sort of like, I think, 12 terahashes in terms of hashing power. And Bitcoin is in the thousands when it comes to petahashes. So the difference in power behind Bitcoin, in Bitcoin's sort of back office, is huge. And I don't see too much of a problem. There's always going to be software bugs or glitches here and there. That's just part of computer science and programming. But hey, I'm not worried about Bitcoin security. I mean, we got some amazing technological minds working in the blockchain space. So if anything did go wrong, I can imagine the community as a whole would get together and plug that hole. Because it's so decentralized and it's open source software, everyone can have an input. I want to get back into sort of learning about coding as well. I just haven't had the time, but so many people can just learn how to code or learn the basics and contribute to the entire network. And that's the great thing about it being decentralized, because all the greatest minds from the world can participate and help maintain it from home. I mean, if I had a better internet connection, and when I get a more powerful machine, I want to start running a node, a Bitcoin node and stuff, and start learning about that and getting into it. And I recommend everyone getting in, learning the basics. And then because if you know more about your investment, you're going to feel more secure about it, because knowledge, the more you know about something, the more secure you're going to feel, and the more you can kind of problem solve around it. So that's my answer to that.
Sure. Luke, I want to ask you about storage of your digital currencies. A lot of people have issues with this. It's kind of the blessing and the curse, right? We can leave our money in the bank and kind of be mindless about it. But at the same time, I'm talking about fiat money, and kind of have some safety in that, that we feel that it's not going to get lost. There's some protections we have with these banks, because if you have identity theft, a lot of them will insure it. But hey, with your own money, your own Bitcoin, you lose the keys to your wallet. That's it. They're gone forever, and you lose it beyond just for yourself. The community loses it. So I want to get your thoughts on digital currency storage. Yeah,
that's a good question. That's a very important question, because I've heard a lot of, there's all sorts of horror stories where people have lost their cryptocurrency because they store it on exchanges, and exchanges get hacked or go bust or vanish. People leave it on these dodgy wallets, and then the wallet will basically just be a scam and stuff. So we have to, even though talking about the nice things of Bitcoin, we have to talk about these kind of things as well. It's important. The best thing I would say in regards to storing your Bitcoin or any altcoin is get a cold storage device. They're only cheap. You can get like a really basic, there's one called a Ledger wallet. You can get like a little one for like €40. You just plug it into your machine. There's like, you have to literally write down the seed, the wallet, the seed passphrase. So it's like 24 words. Treat that like how you would treat your passport or your bank card or something like that. Just put it really safe. Make your own personal backup of it where no one can compromise it. Write it on paper. Store it in a safe. Just treat it like a passport or like a piece of gold. Because when it's offline, it can't be tampered with. There's no sort of Trojan malware sort of software that's infiltrated your machine that can kind of track and record your key, your keystrokes, that kind of thing. Because if you keep it on these third-party exchanges, they could be shut down, they can be hacked, they could vanish in an instant. And if you don't own your seed passphrase, you don't own your cryptocurrency. So always make sure if you're setting up a wallet, make sure it's got a cold storage feature so it's not like connected online, so people can't tamper. If you get hacked, can't tamper with it, and make sure it gives you a seed phrase. But I use Ledger personally. They're really cool, and I don't have any problems with them. They have a selection of different altcoins. I personally keep one for my Bitcoin and one for the altcoins, because I've had incidences where the software of the different cryptocurrencies, it will just go buggy and mix together. And I made a video about that as well, where it will just the software kind of jams up. I would recommend keep your storage as simple as possible. The more simple it is, the less fancy software, the less stuff that can actually go wrong. So yeah, just keep a little bit on exchanges if you want to do trading, but keep the bulk of it in cold storage. But yeah, Ledger are pretty cool. They're really good. There's Trezor as well. There's a few others as well, but there's loads of options. You just got to be safe. Safety first when it comes to things like this, definitely.
Sure. Luke, yeah. I want to thank you for your time, and just thank you for just sharing this knowledge with us. I really appreciate it. And you know what? You've been doing a great work just with the articles that you've been contributing and just educating the people out there. I mean, you know, it's been a really, really awesome. So if people want to
learn, I'm really enjoying it.
Yes, sir. If people want to learn more about you, and you know what, I'm used to asking this question, but you know, where would they go and what would they find? But hey, you know, I know you got your YouTube channel and you're also writing for Crush. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your YouTube channel?
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, my YouTube channel is called Yes for Motivation. That started out as literally just like a little bit of fun. I mean, and I just started doing like motivational videos and personal development, all that kind of stuff. And because I was learning digital marketing at the time as well, because I can do a bit of graphics and web design, so I needed to learn a bit of digital marketing to boost that skill set. So I played around with YouTube, played around with how to rank a video and stuff. And then I started learning about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, why don't I try and merge technology talking with motivational stuff? And I started trying different things, and then I found people really responded well to kind of mindset stuff and cryptocurrency videos. So now I just kind of do like a vlog as much as I can. I want to do every day a video. I'd love to do like 10 videos a day if I had the time, but time is so precious. But yeah, I make videos about like Bitcoin. I don't just talk about Bitcoin. I talk about altcoins. I talk about how to avoid scams. I talk about sort of how to improve your mindset, all that kind of stuff. It's just YouTube, something like Yes for Motivation, and you'll find it. And I talk a lot about Litecoin, Bitcoin, and blockchain insights. I give my insights and what I think of like Ethereum and some of the other coins as well. And I try and be positive, but as real and honest as possible. That's what I try and stand by being as honest as possible. Good
deal, sir. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on the line with me. Thanks so much, and we'll be sure to do a follow-up with you in here in the near future, especially if we start seeing some action with Bitcoin and or Litecoin, or just the digital currency space in general.
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to it.